The night the internet exploded, nobody was ready for what came next. 1 minute, fans were scrolling past their usual gossip feeds, and the next, boom, a headline dropped that sent shockwaves through reality TV culture. Whispers of love and hip-hop cutting ties with longtime cast member Mendeecees Harris after explosive arrest talk, while unverified claims involving Tamar Braxton began spreading like wildfire across social media. Fans are shocked, emotions ran high, and suddenly, the reality TV world felt a lot more real, and a lot more dangerous. According to viral chatter, producers were allegedly scrambling behind the scenes as phone calls leaked, voices raised, and loyalties tested. One insider claimed, this wasn't just another storyline. This crossed a line. Screenshots flew across timelines, cryptic posts appeared and disappeared, and hashtags trended within hours. Was Mendeecees really pushed out after tense conversations about legal trouble resurfaced? Or was this a carefully timed move to save face as the pressure mounted? Nobody seemed to have the same answer, and that only made the mystery deeper. Then came the second bombshell. As the first rumor was still catching fire, Tamar's name suddenly entered the conversation, dragged in by unverified claims that fans couldn't believe were even being mentioned. The comment sections turned into battlegrounds. Some demanded answers, others begged for privacy. A few swore they had receipts. Most just watched in disbelief as the story spiraled out of control. Emotions ran high as supporters clashed with critics, and the family was left divided by speculation that refused to die down. Behind closed doors, sources say tempers flared. Alleged emergency meetings, tearful phone calls, friends choosing sides, and in the middle of it all, two familiar faces from reality TV found themselves at the center of a storm that felt bigger than ratings and cameras. This wasn't just drama for the screen, this was reputation, family, and legacy on the line. So what really happened? Who leaked what? And why did these stories erupt at the exact same moment? As fans refresh their feeds and wait for statements that may never come, one thing is certain. This is the kind of scandal that changes everything. Stay right here, because once you hear how it all allegedly unfolded, you'll understand why the internet hasn't slept since. The room felt heavy before anyone even spoke, the kind of silence that makes your chest tighten because you know something ugly is about to spill out. Phones were buzzing non-stop, notifications stacking on top of each other, and somewhere between a leaked voice note and a blurry screenshot, the night officially went off the rails. Fans were shocked, not because drama was new, but because this time it felt darker, louder, and way too personal. Whispers started flying that Mendeecees was in trouble again, not officially, not on paper, but in the dangerous court of public opinion where rumors move faster than facts. Someone said a conversation about his past arrests had resurfaced during filming, someone else claimed producers weren't happy, and suddenly the word, kicked out, started trending like it was already confirmed. Inside the circle, emotions ran high. A close friend allegedly slammed their phone down and said, "This is exactly what they've been waiting for." Another voice, shaking, replied, "You don't understand, this isn't just TV anymore." According to people who claimed to be nearby, the discussion wasn't meant for cameras, but once a single line leaked, it was over. Fans dissected every second of old episodes, every clip, every side eye, convincing themselves they'd missed the signs all along. The narrative grew teeth, and it bit hard. While that fire was still spreading, another spark dropped, and this one sent shockwaves through an entirely different fanbase. Tamar's name appeared in comments where it didn't belong, attached to a claim so reckless that even seasoned gossip lovers paused. Nobody knew where it started. Some said it was a troll account. Others swore it came from a private group chat that got exposed. What mattered was that it went viral before anyone could stop it. Emotions ran high as fans rushed to defend her, while others, hungry for chaos, repeated the rumor without hesitation. The family was left divided as people demanded statements, explanations, and accountability for something that hadn't even been proven real. Back in the production bubble, panic allegedly set in. Phones rang off the hook as executives tried to get ahead of the narrative. One insider supposedly whispered, "This storyline just turned into a liability." Another replied, "We either control it now or it controls us." Mendeecees, according to the rumor mill, was blindsided. He reportedly asked, "How did we get here?" from one conversation, but there was no pulling it back. The damage was already happening in real time, live on social media, where fans don't wait for facts before choosing sides. Friends and family felt the pressure instantly. Someone close to him allegedly warned, "If you stay quiet, they'll write the story for you." Another voice argued back, "If you speak, they'll twist every word." The tension was thick, the kind that turns simple decisions into impossible ones. Every move felt like a trap. Even silence was being labeled as guilt by strangers who felt entitled to answers. As for Tamar, sources claimed she was furious and hurt, more by how fast people believed the lie than by the lie itself. "This is dangerous," she allegedly said to someone she trusted. "This isn't shade, this is character assassination." Fans flooded her pages with messages of support, but mixed in were comments that proved how far the rumor had already traveled. Emotions ran high as loved ones urged her to log off, to protect her peace, but the internet doesn't pause just because someone is hurting. Meanwhile, the connection between the two stories became the biggest mystery. Why were these narratives colliding at the same moment? Conspiracy theories popped up overnight. Some fans insisted it was a distraction. Others believed it was strategic, a way to bury one scandal under another. The speculation fed itself, growing louder with every repost. The family was left divided not just by belief, but by fear of what might come next. Behind closed doors, alleged arguments broke out. Raised voices, accusations of betrayal, people demanding to know who leaked what. "This was supposed to stay internal," someone reportedly shouted. Another fired back, "Nothing stays internal anymore." Trust cracked under the pressure, and once that happened, everyone started looking at each other sideways. Friends questioned friends. Allies felt shaky. Nobody knew who to believe. As the night dragged on, fans refreshed their feeds like it was a lifeline. Every vague post felt like a clue. Every emoji was analyzed. Emotions ran high as people argued in comment sections, convinced they were defending the truth, even though the truth itself was still buried under layers of speculation. The family was left divided in public, while privately trying to figure out how things spiraled so fast. By the time the sun came up, nothing was resolved. No official statements. No confirmations. Just louder rumors and deeper lines drawn in the sand. Mendeecees was waking up to headlines that treated whispers like facts, and Tamar was facing a viral claim that refused to die quietly. Fans were shocked that it had reached this level overnight, and insiders feared this was only the beginning. The tension hung in the air, unresolved, waiting for the next move, the next leak, the next moment that would push this already explosive situation even further. By mid-morning, the situation had mutated into something almost unrecognizable from how it started. What began as whispers had hardened into full-blown narratives, repeated so often that people spoke about them like confirmed facts. Mendeecees was reportedly staring at his phone in disbelief, scrolling through posts that claimed to know his future better than he did. Some said he was already out, others insisted contracts had been ripped up overnight. None of it had a source anyone could name, yet it felt solid because so many people were repeating it. Emotions ran high as he allegedly muttered, "They're erasing me in real time," a sentence that echoed the fear of losing not just a spot on a show, but control over his own story. Those close to him tried to calm the storm, but even they were rattled. One family member allegedly said, "This is bigger than TV, this is your name," while another snapped back, "Then why did they bring it up on camera at all?" The arguments weren't about what was true anymore, but about who could be trusted. The family was left divided between those who wanted to fight back loudly and those who believed silence was the only protection left. Every option felt risky, every choice loaded with consequences. Online, fans were splitting into camps. Some claimed loyalty, insisting Mendeecees was being set up for a storyline that went too far. Others argued that reality TV thrives on accountability and that nothing happens without reason. Comment sections turned vicious. Emotions ran high as strangers debated his life like it was a plot twist, not a real human being caught in the crossfire. The lack of official information only fueled the chaos, creating space for imaginations to run wild. Meanwhile, Tamar's situation grew more painful by the hour. The unverified claim refused to fade, despite clear pushback from those who understood how harmful it was. Friends reportedly begged her to address it head-on, but others warned that acknowledging it could give it more oxygen. "Why should I have to deny something so disgusting?" she allegedly said, her voice cracking with frustration. The family was left divided on how to protect her, torn between legal action and emotional withdrawal. Behind the scenes, sources whispered about emergency calls between managers, lawyers, and publicists. Damage control became the phrase of the day. Someone allegedly asked, "Do we shut this down or let it burn out?" Another replied, "This kind of thing doesn't burn out, it scars." Emotions ran high as everyone realized that once a rumor reaches a certain level, it stops being about truth and starts being about belief. The overlap between the two stories became impossible to ignore. Fans questioned why both names were trending together, even though the situations had nothing to do with each other. Conspiracy theories took shape, claiming distraction tactics or intentional leaks. None of it could be proven, but it didn't matter. The narrative had momentum, and momentum doesn't need evidence to keep moving. The family was left divided not just by opinion, but by exhaustion from trying to keep up with the noise. Private conversations reportedly turned sharp. Mendeecees was said to have confronted someone he trusted, asking if they'd spoken out of turn. "I told you that in confidence," he allegedly said. The reply came cold. "I didn't think it would leave the room, but it had, and once it did, there was no bringing it back." Trust fractured under the weight of public scrutiny, and relationships that once felt solid now felt dangerously thin. Fans continued to speculate about what producers might do next. Some insisted a dramatic on-screen exit was inevitable. Others believed negotiations were happening quietly to avoid backlash. Emotions ran high as people replayed past seasons, searching for moments that now felt like foreshadowing. Every argument, every tense conversation suddenly looked like a clue that this ending had been planned all along. Tamar's supporters grew louder, pushing back against the cruelty of the claim and calling out how quickly society jumps to judgment. Still, the rumor lingered, resurfacing in different forms, twisted slightly each time it was retold. The family was left divided between anger at the internet and heartbreak over how easily lies can attach themselves to a person's name. As night fell again, the lack of closure became unbearable. No statements, no clarity, just more questions. Mendeecees reportedly paced, wondering how a single resurfaced conversation had detonated his entire public image. Tamar, according to those close to her, felt betrayed by how little it took for strangers to believe the worst. Emotions ran high across both camps, connected not by facts, but by the shared experience of being consumed by rumor. The tension refused to settle. Fans sensed that something else was coming, another twist waiting to drop. The family was left divided, the internet was still hungry, and the silence from those at the center only made the storm louder. Nothing felt finished, nothing felt safe, and as the next wave of speculation began to build, it became clear that this story was far from over, and whatever happened next would only push the drama deeper into territory no one could fully control. The third day felt heavier than the first two, not louder but more dangerous, because now people were settling into their beliefs. Rumors had calcified into opinions, and opinions were being defended like personal truth. Mendeecees allegedly woke up to missed calls from numbers he didn't recognize, messages that blurred concern with curiosity. Some wanted to help, others just wanted to know what was going on behind the scenes. "Everybody wants a piece of the chaos," he reportedly said under his breath, realizing that privacy had become a luxury he no longer had. Conversations with family reportedly grew tense. One relative tried to reassure him, saying, "This will blow over, it always does," but another cut in sharply, "Not when they keep repeating it like it's fact." The family was left divided between hope and realism, between faith in time and fear of permanent damage. Emotions ran high as old wounds resurfaced, reminding everyone that past mistakes, even when addressed, never fully disappear in the public eye. Online, fans weren't just talking anymore, they were demanding. They wanted explanations, accountability, clarity, even though none of them were owed any. Comment sections filled with ultimatums. "Say something or we know it's true," one read. "They're silencing him," another claimed. The noise created its own pressure, forcing a response even when no response felt safe. Emotions ran high as strangers convinced themselves they were entitled to answers. Tamar's camp, according to whispers, was dealing with a different kind of exhaustion. The claim had taken on a life of its own, mutating with every retelling. What started as a reckless sentence had become a full-blown narrative in certain corners of the internet. Friends reportedly urged her to speak, to shut it down, while others warned her that denial could invite even more invasive speculation. "Why is my name even in this?" she allegedly asked, her frustration boiling over. The family was left divided on strategy, torn between silence and confrontation. Behind the scenes, tempers flared in rooms far away from the public eye. Someone allegedly accused a former ally of feeding bloggers half-truths. "You knew what they would do with it," they snapped. The response was defensive, almost cold. "I didn't expect it to go this far." But it had, and the damage was already unfolding. Trust, once broken, proved impossible to fully repair. Fans began drawing imaginary lines connecting both scandals. They insisted there had to be a reason the stories erupted together. Some claimed it was all a setup, others believed it was coincidence amplified by algorithms. None of it could be verified, but the theories were entertaining enough to spread. Emotions ran high as people argued not about what happened, but about what it meant. Mendeecees reportedly felt boxed in. If he denied the rumors, he risked drawing more attention to them. If he stayed silent, the narrative continued without him. "They're writing my ending without me," he allegedly told someone close, a confession that carried more fear than anger. The family was left divided on how to protect him, each suggestion feeling like a gamble. Late-night calls became routine. Advisors discussed optics, timing, and potential fallout. Someone allegedly said, "This isn't about clearing your name, it's about surviving the cycle." Emotions ran high as everyone acknowledged that reality TV fame comes with a price, and sometimes that price is losing control of your own image. Tamar's supporters grew increasingly vocal, calling out the cruelty of spreading unverified claims. Hashtags formed, posts went viral pushing back against the narrative. Still, the rumor clung stubbornly, resurfacing in comment threads and whispered conversations. The family was left divided between gratitude for the support and anger that it was needed at all. As hours passed, new leaks were teased but never fully delivered. Screenshots without context, vague captions hinting at what really happened. Fans leaned in, desperate for resolution. Emotions ran high as disappointment mixed with anticipation, creating a cycle where the absence of information felt just as dramatic as a reveal. By the end of the day, fatigue set in. Not the kind that comes from lack of sleep, but the exhaustion of being under constant judgment. Mendeecees reportedly questioned whether the spotlight was worth it anymore. Tamar, according to those close to her, felt betrayed by how quickly compassion disappeared online. The family was left divided, each member processing the chaos differently. Yet even in that exhaustion, nobody believed it was over. The silence felt temporary, like the pause before another storm. Fans sensed it too, refreshing feeds, waiting for the next shoe to drop. Emotions ran high, uncertainty lingered, and the story continued to stretch forward, unresolved, pulling everyone involved deeper into a drama that no one could fully escape. By the fourth stretch of this saga, the atmosphere had shifted from shock to strategy. People weren't just reacting anymore, they were positioning themselves. Mendeecees reportedly noticed how quickly the tone of messages changed, from, "Are you okay?" to, "What's your next move?" Even support started sounding conditional, like loyalty with an expiration date. Emotions ran high as he realized that in this space, silence is interpreted as weakness and speaking is treated like confession. A private meeting was rumored to have taken place, no cameras, no phones, just tense faces and clipped voices. Someone allegedly opened with, "This is spiraling and we need to contain it." Another snapped back, "You can't contain something that's already viral." The room reportedly went quiet, the kind of quiet that means nobody really has a solution. The family was left divided on whether to trust the process or blow it up and tell everything. Online narratives continued to harden. Fans started ranking credibility, deciding who they believed based on old grudges and perceived vibes rather than facts. Emotions ran high as people dug up past interviews, old tweets, even body language from years ago, using it all to justify their current opinions. The story was no longer about what happened, but about who deserved sympathy and who didn't. Tamar's situation reached a breaking point when someone close to her allegedly broke down in tears, saying, "They don't see you as human anymore." That sentence reportedly hit harder than any headline. The family was left divided, some furious and ready to fight, others emotionally drained and desperate for peace. Emotions ran high as they debated whether public denial would actually protect her or just invite more cruelty. Rumors claimed legal options were discussed quietly, not because anyone believed the truth would magically prevail, but because boundaries had been crossed. "This isn't gossip, it's dangerous," someone allegedly said. Still, hesitation lingered. Going legal meant keeping the story alive longer, letting it be dissected in even colder ways. The family was left divided between justice and self-preservation. Mendeecees, according to whispers, began questioning who was leaking information. Every detail that surfaced felt too specific to be random. "Someone is talking," he allegedly said, his trust eroding with every new post. Accusations floated in private conversations, glances grew sharper, and friendships felt brittle. Emotions ran high as paranoia crept in, fed by the relentless attention. Fans noticed the shift too. The energy online became more aggressive, less playful. Debates turned personal. People insulted each other for holding different opinions, as if defending or condemning a stranger had become a moral identity. Emotions ran high as empathy gave way to entertainment, and the family was left divided watching strangers argue over their pain. Late one evening, a vague post appeared, not naming names, not addressing rumors directly, but heavy with implication. Fans exploded, convinced it was a response. Every word was dissected, every punctuation mark analyzed. Some called it a soft launch of the truth. Others accused it of manipulation. Emotions ran high as the post fueled more questions than answers. Tamar reportedly saw the reaction and felt both relief and regret. Relief that support was visible, regret that it had to come at the cost of reopening wounds. "I didn't choose this," she allegedly said, a quiet acknowledgement of how little control she had left. The family was left divided, some proud of her strength, others worried about the toll. As midnight approached, new voices entered the conversation. Distant associates, former friends, people with loose connections suddenly had opinions to share. "I always knew something was off," one claimed. "This doesn't surprise me," said another. Emotions ran high as credibility was stretched thin, everyone fighting for relevance in a moment that didn't belong to them. Mendeecees reportedly felt cornered by these late arrivals. "Where were you before?" he allegedly asked, frustration edging into anger. The realization settled in that crises attract spectators, not just supporters. The family was left divided, trying to decide who deserved access and who needed to be cut off completely. Sleep became elusive. Every few hours brought another notification, another theory, another demand. Emotions ran high as exhaustion blurred judgment. Decisions made in fatigue felt dangerous, but delaying them felt just as risky. The pressure to act was constant, suffocating. By the end of that phase, something subtle but significant had changed. The chaos was no longer just external. It had seeped inward, affecting trust, confidence, and self-perception. Mendeecees reportedly wondered if reclaiming his narrative was even possible. Tamar, according to those close to her, questioned how something so false could feel so heavy. The family was left divided, not because they didn't love each other, but because each person was carrying a different weight of the same storm. Fans were still shocked, emotions still ran high, and the internet showed no signs of moving on. The story remained unresolved, stretched thin by speculation, waiting for the next moment that would either crack it wide open or bury the truth even deeper. By the time the fifth wave of fallout rolled in, the drama had reached a point where even denial felt useless. The narrative had already been written and rewritten so many times that the original version barely mattered anymore. Mendeecees reportedly felt like he was watching someone else's life play out on a screen, except this time he couldn't change the channel. Every rumor had grown legs, every assumption had become a conclusion. Fans were shocked not just by what they were hearing, but by how confident people sounded repeating things they couldn't possibly verify. Private conversations grew darker. One trusted voice allegedly warned him, "They don't need proof anymore, they just need repetition." That sentence hit hard because it felt true. Emotions ran high as he realized the fight wasn't about facts, it was about perception. And perception had already turned against him in certain spaces. The family was left divided between those urging him to make a bold statement and those terrified that any statement would be weaponized. Meanwhile, the pressure around Tamar intensified in a quieter but more painful way. The rumor had settled into a low hum, no longer trending loudly but refusing to disappear. That persistence felt crueler than the initial shock. Friends noticed she wasn't laughing the same, wasn't posting the same. "They think because it's quiet now, it's gone," she allegedly said, "but it's still there." Emotions ran high as the realization set in that silence doesn't equal healing. Behind closed doors, exhaustion took over. Crisis meetings reportedly blurred together, all sounding the same. What if we wait? What if we respond? What if we never recover? Each question felt heavier than the last. The family was left divided not by conflict, but by fear. Fear of doing too much. Fear of doing too little. Fear of making the wrong move in a situation with no safe options. Fans, sensing fatigue, became even bolder. Some interpreted the lack of clarity as confirmation. Others framed themselves as protectors, claiming they were holding people accountable. Emotions ran high as the line between concern and entitlement disappeared. Strangers spoke with authority, dissecting lives they only knew through screens. The internet didn't slow down for burnout. Mendeecees reportedly reached a breaking point during a late-night call. His voice, usually controlled, allegedly cracked as he said, "I can't keep defending myself against ghosts." It was the first time he admitted how powerless he felt. The family was left divided in response, some insisting strength meant pushing back harder, others realizing strength might mean stepping away entirely. Tamar's circle faced a similar crossroads. Legal action was discussed again, more seriously this time. Not out of revenge, but out of desperation. What if someone believes it enough to act on it, someone allegedly asked. The weight of that possibility changed the tone of everything. Emotions ran high as they confronted the real-world consequences of online lies. The overlap between both situations continued to haunt the narrative. Fans still insisted there had to be a hidden connection, a master plan, something sinister tying it all together. Every coincidence was treated like evidence. The family was left divided, watching theories spiral further away from reality, unable to pull the conversation back to truth. Old relationships strained under the pressure. People who hadn't spoken in years resurfaced with opinions. Some offered support, others subtly distanced themselves. Mendeecees reportedly noticed who stayed silent when it mattered, and that silence spoke louder than words. Emotions ran high as loyalty was quietly redefined. Tamar, according to those close to her, began questioning the cost of visibility. "Is being seen worth being exposed like this?" she allegedly asked. It wasn't rhetorical. It was a genuine doubt shaped by weeks of emotional erosion. The family was left divided between encouraging resilience and acknowledging pain. As days blended together, normal life felt unreachable. Routines were disrupted. Sleep schedules were broken. Every notification triggered anxiety. Emotions ran high as both camps realized the drama wasn't just public anymore, it had invaded their private sense of safety. The internet had followed them home. Fans continued to demand closure, unaware that closure isn't something you can manufacture on command. The more they pushed, the more distant the truth seemed to become. Speculation filled the gaps where answers should have been. The family was left divided, trying to shield themselves while being pulled apart by constant exposure. By the end of this phase, something irreversible had happened. Trust in the process, in the audience, in the idea that truth eventually wins, had been shaken. Mendeecees reportedly no longer asked how to fix the narrative, but how to survive it. Tamar, according to whispers, focused less on clearing her name and more on protecting her mental health. Fans were still shocked, emotions still ran high, and the family was left divided in ways that wouldn't heal overnight. The story hadn't reached a climax yet, but the ground beneath it had shifted. Whatever came next wouldn't just be another twist. It would be a consequence. And everyone involved could feel it coming, heavy and unavoidable, like the final wave before everything changed. The final stretch didn't arrive with a bang, it crept in slowly, almost deceptively calm, like the moment right before a storm changes direction. The noise online dipped just enough to feel unsettling, not because people had moved on, but because they were waiting. Mendeecees reportedly felt that pause more than the chaos. "This is the quiet where decisions get made without you," he allegedly said, sensing that something bigger was happening behind closed doors. Rumors surfaced that conversations with producers had taken a colder tone. Less emotion, more finality. Phrases like, "going in a different direction," and "protecting the brand," were whispered through back channels. None of it was confirmed, but the implication hung heavy. Emotions ran high as he realized this might not end with a dramatic confrontation, but with a slow erasure. The family was left divided between anger at the system and fear of burning bridges that might never be rebuilt. One night, according to whispers, a long call ended without resolution. No promises, no reassurance, just a polite goodbye that felt like a door quietly closing. Mendeecees allegedly sat in silence afterward, processing what that meant, not just for his career, but for how his story would be remembered. Emotions ran high as he confronted the possibility that the narrative might move on without him, leaving only speculation behind. Tamar's situation took a different turn, not louder, but more internal. The constant hum of the rumor had forced a reckoning. Sources claimed she made a deliberate choice to step back, not out of defeat, but self-preservation. "I won't let lies define my peace," she allegedly told someone close. The family was left divided between relief that she was protecting herself and sadness that it came at such a cost. Fans reacted predictably to the silence. Some claimed victory, others claimed injustice. Theories multiplied, filling the vacuum left by the lack of statements. Emotions ran high as people argued over what silence meant, projecting their own conclusions onto it. The internet, as always, refused to sit with uncertainty. Behind the scenes, relationships quietly shifted. People who once had constant access found themselves kept at a distance. Boundaries were drawn where none existed before. Mendeecees reportedly noticed how much smaller his circle became, and how much clearer that made things. "Now I know who was really here," he allegedly said, a mix of bitterness and acceptance in his voice. The family was left divided, some mourning lost connections, others grateful for the clarity. Tamar's supporters continued to push back against the rumor, but the fight felt different now. Less reactive, more resolute. Emotions ran high as they reframed the narrative, focusing on harm and responsibility rather than gossip. Still, the damage lingered. The family was left divided between celebrating resilience and grieving what never should have happened. As time passed, the two stories slowly drifted apart in the public eye, no longer trending together but forever linked in memory. Fans moved on to the next scandal, the next headline, leaving behind unanswered questions. Emotions ran high for those still living with the consequences, even as the internet's attention shifted elsewhere. Mendeecees reportedly faced a crossroads: continue chasing a platform that had turned volatile, or step back and rebuild on his own terms. Neither option felt easy. The family was left divided on what the future should look like, but united in one thing: the chaos had changed them all. Trust had been tested. Priorities had shifted. Tamar, according to those close to her, found strength in stepping out of the noise. Healing didn't come instantly, but it began quietly, away from comment sections and speculation. Emotions ran high as she reclaimed parts of herself that had been overshadowed by rumor. The family was left divided in emotion but aligned in support. Looking back, the drama felt surreal, like a cautionary tale about how fast narratives can spiral out of control. Fans were shocked when it began, entertained as it unfolded, and largely absent when the aftermath settled in. Emotions ran high at every stage, but resolution proved elusive. In the end, there was no single explosive reveal, no neat bow to tie it all together. Just consequences, lingering questions, and people left to pick up the pieces. The family was left divided, not broken, but forever changed by the experience. And as the internet moved on, those at the center were left with a hard-earned truth that in the world of viral drama, silence can be loud, rumors can be ruthless, and once a story takes on a life of its own, surviving it becomes the only real victory. The aftermath didn't feel like an ending, it felt like walking through debris after a storm where nobody could agree on what had actually caused the damage. Days blurred together, and even though the headlines slowed down, the tension didn't. Mendeecees reportedly felt like every room he walked into carried a memory of the chaos, every conversation loaded with things left unsaid. People spoke carefully around him, like one wrong word could reopen everything. Emotions ran high because healing was expected immediately, yet nothing had actually been resolved. The family was left divided between wanting to forget and needing to understand what really happened. Quiet moments became the hardest. Without the constant noise of notifications, thoughts grew louder. Mendeecees allegedly replayed conversations over and over, wondering which moment shifted everything. Was it the resurfaced arrest talk, the private discussion that should have stayed private, or the way the internet grabbed hold of it and refused to let go? I keep thinking if I said one thing differently, he reportedly admitted, trailing off because the answer didn't matter anymore. The narrative had already escaped him. People around him tried to push optimism. This isn't the end, someone said, attempting encouragement. But optimism felt hollow when trust had been chipped away. Emotions ran high as he realized that even if opportunities returned, they would come with conditions, with whispers attached. The family was left divided, some believing redemption arcs were possible, others convinced the cost was too high. Tamar's world, though quieter on the surface, carried a different kind of weight. The rumor may have faded from trending pages, but it lingered in subtle ways. Sideways looks, awkward pauses, questions disguised as concern. Sources claimed she noticed the shift immediately. They don't ask directly, she allegedly said, but I can feel it. Emotions ran high as she navigated spaces where she once felt safe, now tinged with caution. Conversations within her circle grew more reflective. This showed us who listens and who just consumes, someone reportedly said. The family was left divided between anger at the cruelty of strangers and gratitude for those who stood firm. Trust had been recalibrated, boundaries reinforced. Still, the hurt didn't vanish just because the noise died down. Fans, having moved on to new distractions, occasionally circled back with comments like nothing had happened. Miss you on my screen, hope you're good, words that seemed kind but ignored the damage left behind. Emotions ran high as both camps realized how disposable public pain can be. Yesterday's scandal becomes today's afterthought, even when the people involved are still dealing with the fallout. Mendeecees reportedly reached a moment of clarity during a low-key conversation, not with an executive or advisor, but with someone who had nothing to gain. They watched you fall and called it entertainment, that person allegedly said. The sentence landed hard. Emotions ran high as he confronted the uncomfortable truth that not every audience wants growth, some just want spectacle. The family was left divided between encouraging distance from that world and fearing what life looks like without it. Tamar, according to those close to her, leaned into a different form of strength. Not loud rebuttals or dramatic statements, but intentional absence. Choosing when to be seen. Choosing when to speak. Peace is a decision, she allegedly said, a quiet declaration that marked a shift. Emotions ran high as she reclaimed control in a way that didn't need validation. Behind the scenes, long-term consequences began to surface. Relationships with brands, collaborators, and platforms subtly shifted. Nobody said it outright, but hesitation replaced enthusiasm. The family was left divided, watching doors half open instead of fully closing, unsure whether to push or wait. Uncertainty became the new normal. For Mendeecees, rebuilding meant redefining success. Not as visibility, but as stability. "I don't want to be a storyline anymore," he reportedly said, signaling a desire to step out of cycles that thrived on controversy. Emotions ran high as he weighed legacy against relevance. The family was left divided, some missing the spotlight, others relieved by the possibility of quieter days. Tamar's healing followed a similar but separate path. Creative outlets became refuge, not performance. Laughter returned slowly, cautiously. Those closest to her noticed the change before fans ever could. "She's lighter," someone allegedly said, acknowledging that survival sometimes looks like withdrawal. Emotions ran high as the family balanced pride with lingering anger at what had been endured. Occasionally, the past resurfaced in interviews, in throwaway questions meant to stir reaction. Both learned to navigate those moments differently now. Mendeecees reportedly chose restraint over reaction. Tamar chose boundaries over explanations. The family was left divided on approach but united in protecting what mattered most. Looking back, the entire saga felt like a lesson written too publicly. How quickly conversations can be weaponized. How easily truth gets lost in repetition. How fans are shocked at first, then entertained, then gone. Emotions ran high at every stage, yet accountability remained elusive. The internet never apologized. It never does. It simply moved on. But those at the center carried forward with altered perspectives. Trust was no longer automatic. Access was no longer free. The family was left divided not by conflict, but by the different ways each person processed the same trauma. In quieter moments, both reportedly acknowledged the same hard truth: survival in this space isn't about winning the narrative, it's about outlasting it. Choosing what to carry forward and what to leave behind. Emotions ran high, but resilience grew stronger in the absence of noise. And so the story didn't end with a dramatic confession or a shocking reveal. It dissolved slowly into real life, where consequences linger longer than headlines. Fans may remember the drama as entertainment, but for those who lived it, it became a turning point. The family was left divided, healed, scarred, and reshaped all at once. And even as the world looked elsewhere, the impact of those viral moments continued quietly, reminding everyone involved that some storms don't need thunder to leave lasting marks. Time moved forward, but the shadows of what happened refused to stay behind. Even as routines slowly returned, there was a constant awareness that nothing was quite the same anymore. Mendeecees reportedly noticed it in the smallest moments: a pause before answering the phone, a hesitation before trusting a new conversation. The chaos had rewired his instincts. Emotions ran high because healing wasn't linear. Some days felt strong, others felt like being pulled back into the same emotional gravity that started it all. The family was left divided between celebrating progress and acknowledging that scars don't vanish just because the noise fades. There were moments when laughter returned unexpectedly, almost guiltily, like joy needed permission after everything that had happened. "Are we allowed to feel normal again?" someone allegedly joked, trying to break the tension. But even humor carried weight now. Emotions ran high as everyone learned to live with a new version of themselves shaped by public scrutiny. The family was left divided not in love, but in coping styles, some wanting to talk everything through, others preferring to let silence do the work. Occasionally, the past knocked without warning. An old clip resurfacing. A comment referencing the rumor like it was still current. A stranger bringing it up casually, unaware of the damage it caused. Mendeecees reportedly felt his chest tighten in those moments. "It never really dies," he allegedly said, acknowledging that the internet has a long memory even when it pretends to forget. Emotions ran high as he wrestled with the idea that some chapters never fully close. Tamar's experience echoed that reality in different ways. The claim that once spread uncontrollably had been proven empty in substance, but its emotional residue lingered. Sources said she became more selective with her energy, more intentional about where she showed up. "Access is earned now," she allegedly stated, a boundary drawn from hard experience. The family was left divided between missing the openness she once had and respecting the armor she needed to build. Fans, disconnected from the aftermath, occasionally expressed confusion. "Why are they so private now?" some asked, as if privacy hadn't been violated so publicly. Emotions ran high as both camps realized how often audiences demand vulnerability without considering its cost. The family was left divided, watching that expectation play out again and again, this time with clearer eyes. New opportunities surfaced cautiously, wrapped in careful language and conditions. Nothing explosive, nothing guaranteed. Mendeecees reportedly weighed each offer slowly, no longer seduced by visibility alone. "What's the price this time?" he allegedly asked, a question shaped by experience. Emotions ran high as he chose sustainability over spectacle, even when it meant walking away from familiar platforms. Tamar's path forward leaned into authenticity without exposure. Creativity became quieter, more controlled, shared on her terms. Those close to her noticed a shift from performance to intention. "She's not proving anything anymore," someone allegedly observed. Emotions ran high as that freedom took root, subtle but powerful. Relationships continued to evolve. Some connections deepened, forged by loyalty during the worst moments. Others faded, unable to survive the stress test of controversy. The family was left divided, reflecting on who stayed and who disappeared, learning that absence can be as revealing as presence. There were nights when the weight returned unexpectedly. Insomnia fueled by memory. Questions without answers. Mendeecees reportedly stared at the ceiling, wondering how easily a reputation can be shaken. "They never met me," he allegedly thought, struggling with the idea that strangers felt entitled to define him. Emotions ran high as he accepted that understanding doesn't always come from the outside. Tamar, according to whispers, processed her own late-night thoughts differently now. Less anger, more clarity. "I know who I am," she allegedly reminded herself, grounding her sense of self in something stronger than public opinion. The family was left divided between lingering pain and growing peace, both coexisting without canceling each other out. As months passed, perspective shifted. What once felt like the end began to look like a turning point. Not because the damage disappeared, but because priorities changed. Mendeecees reportedly found meaning in quieter wins, personal stability, trust rebuilt slowly. Emotions ran high as he realized survival wasn't loud, it was consistent. The family was left divided in memory but united in moving forward. Tamar's resilience became less about defiance and more about alignment, choosing environments that honored her humanity, stepping away from spaces that thrived on speculation. Emotions ran high as she modeled a different response to public harm, one rooted in self-respect rather than reaction. Sometimes, when old headlines resurfaced, both reportedly felt a strange detachment. Not numbness, but distance. The story no longer controlled them the way it once had. The family was left divided in recollection but shared the understanding that growth often comes through fire. The internet, relentless as ever, continued to cycle through new scandals, new faces, new outrage. Fans were shocked by each one, emotions ran high, then attention moved on. But for those who had lived through it, the lesson remained permanent. Fame is fragile. Narratives are dangerous. Silence can be both shield and burden. In the end, what remained wasn't the rumor, the accusation, or the trending moment. It was the recalibration of identity. Who they were without the noise. Who they trusted when everything got loud. The family was left divided in experience but strengthened in truth. And while the world remembered the drama as content, those at the center remembered it as a reckoning. A reminder that survival sometimes means stepping back, redefining success, and choosing peace over proving anything. Emotions ran high once, but wisdom settled in their place. And even as the internet kept moving, the impact of those moments lived on quietly, shaping choices, boundaries, and futures in ways no headline could ever fully capture. And now it all comes down to you, because stories like this don't live or die with headlines, they live in the conversations that happen after. You've heard how fast rumors can grow, how emotions ran high, how fans were shocked, and how the family was left divided when speculation became louder than truth. But what do you think really happened behind closed doors? Was this a calculated move by people with power, or a perfect storm where silence and rumor collided at the worst possible moment? Your voice matters here, and this is where the story keeps breathing. If you've ever watched reality TV and felt like the line between entertainment and real life was getting thinner, this moment probably hit close to home. Maybe you felt anger, maybe disappointment, maybe empathy, or maybe you're still unsure what to believe. That uncertainty is exactly why your perspective is important. Drop a comment and tell us, do you think Mendeecees was pushed out unfairly, or was this an inevitable consequence of the past resurfacing? Do you believe Tamar was targeted by a reckless rumor culture, or do you think the internet has gone too far with no accountability? Say it in your own words, because no two viewers experience this drama the same way. And let's be real for a second, how many times have you seen a viral story explode, only to realize later that the damage was permanent even after the truth got quiet? Fans are shocked in the moment, emotions run high in the comments, and then the internet moves on, leaving real people to deal with real consequences. Does that sit right with you? Should there be limits to what gets turned into entertainment? Or is this just the price of fame in a world that never logs off? We want to know how you feel about that too. If this story made you think differently about gossip, rumors, or how quickly judgment spreads online, make sure you show your support by hitting that like button. It might seem small, but it helps this video reach more people who want deeper conversations, not just surface-level drama. Every like tells the algorithm that you want more stories that go beyond headlines and explore what's really happening beneath the noise. And if you're not subscribed yet, this is your moment. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next chapter, because stories like this rarely end where people think they do. New twists, new reactions, and new fallout always seem to surface when everyone least expects it. Turning on notifications means you'll be the first to know when the conversation continues, not days later after the narrative has already been shaped without you. Share this video with someone who's been talking about this drama non-stop, or someone who thinks reality TV is just entertainment. Let them see how fast things escalate, how families get divided, and how reputations can be shaken overnight. Sometimes it takes one story to make people pause and rethink how they consume viral content. And before you go, ask yourself this: if you were in their position, would you speak out or stay silent? Would you fight the narrative head-on or step back to protect your peace? There's no easy answer, and that's what makes this conversation worth having. Put yourself in their shoes and tell us what choice you would make. Scroll down right now and leave your thoughts. Don't just watch and disappear. This comment section is where the real discussion happens, where different perspectives clash, where emotions run high, and where viewers decide what they believe together. Respectful debate, honest opinions, and real reactions are always welcome here. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about one show, one rumor, or one viral moment. It's about how quickly narratives form, how easily they spread, and how hard it is to escape them once they take hold. Fans may be shocked today, but tomorrow there will be another headline, another scandal, another name trending. The question is, will we keep consuming without thinking, or will we start questioning the stories we're fed? So like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and most importantly, speak up in the comments. Your opinion is part of this story now. And as always, stay tuned, because when emotions run high and the family is left divided, there's always more beneath the surface than what meets the eye.